Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the second season of the Career Corner podcast, where we answer your career cues. I'm your host, Lukas Kauffman, and joining us today, very exciting stuff for our first episode of our new season. Alexa Chalnick is here with us to talk about content creation, songwriting, and networking. Alexa, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Very excited to have you here. So just real quick before we start, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
I just turned 23 and graduated from Ithaca College this past December. It's February 9th. My birthday was the 5th, so very
Happy
exciting.
birthday.
Thank you. And I am a content creator, first to be discovered on TikTok and from posting a lot of my original work, and eventually from creating musical theater duets and then songwriting challenges. I've become pretty well known in the musical storytelling area of TikTok, and I have a lot of personal projects that I'm now working on releasing, being that I have time because I'm not in college anymore. And I have a lot of incredible opportunities I'm looking to pursue, which my content creation has gotten me.
So speaking of actually being in school, you've been doing this for longer than you've been graduated. While you were in school, how did you balance making content and your academics?
At first, I was making content because I had a small vocal injury from stress, which turns out stress can just make your cords swollen and create all this crazy stuff. And being a voice major at the time, I was required to be in a practice room for a certain amount of time practicing. But after 10 minutes, my voice, I just felt like I didn't want to do it anymore. So that's the first time I really turned to songwriting and making silly little videos. And I just posted them because I was bored, but they wound up doing really well. And so when I would go into the practice room after I would practice for the short amount of time that I could, it was then my time to be able to go and create content. And it was really fun and made a very stressful, scary time for me into something that I became very excited about, to go and have this time every day to create content and to be able to share my voice in a different form, in storytelling and writing. If I couldn't use it to necessarily sing, I could write really neat things, or I could, I don't know, give other people opportunities to share their voices. Then when quarantine hit, I was pretty much just making content 24/7 from home. Then I actually took a leave of absence from school. So I was just creating content 24/7, nothing in my way. Going back to school after quarantine, it was incredibly difficult for me to juggle creating content with school, and I just felt very overwhelmed. And I was also trying to navigate talking to people again. I was experiencing anxiety for the first time in my life. It was so alien, and I just felt like everything was wrong, and it was very scary. So I took a hiatus from social media. I maybe made a couple of videos, but not anything major. And it's pretty much been like that, where if I'm in school, I haven't been making a lot of content, honestly. And then when I have a break or it's summer, bam, I push out like a good chunk of videos. And then all of a sudden I get people reminded of who I am. And now that I'm graduated, I have this huge content plan starting this upcoming Monday. I'm going to be posting and getting stuff out there and working on all my projects. So, it's been a challenge, and at different points in my life, it's really affected how I've been able to juggle content creation with schoolwork. But I'm very happy to not have that problem anymore.
And while we're on the topic of balancing aspects of your creation and what you do, how do you balance the business side of your career with the artistic side?
It's rough. I am someone who loves creating, not talking numbers and business. I feel lucky to have family that are on my butt about business things. And, well, if you are going to work with this person, I know it's a lot of fun, but, there are agreements that should be made or things that should be talked about. And I always feel a little bit awkward about that on the business side of things. So I'm still learning, I think. I have a wonderful lawyer who I really love, who I've worked with on occasion, or if I have questions I can go to. But that was when I had money. And now we're back to square one, I think, and starting back up and trying to take it one step at a time. I have this book, Music Business, that I read, trying to learn, it's still a process. As a creative, it's rough. We don't usually I mean, I don't want to say don't usually, but it can be difficult to juggle the business side of things when all we want to do is, create art. But as an entrepreneur in the arts, it's definitely something that I am being made to have to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have any tips, whether it's for balancing creation and academic life and or balancing business and creative? Do you have any tips for people who might be trying to get into what you're doing?
I think my number one tip would have to be to have fun, which is maybe why business is kind of like a bleh thing for me because if I'm not having fun doing something, it becomes very difficult for me to do. But in terms of content creation, I would say have fun because the minute that it stops being fun and it just becomes not as enjoyable. And I think that viewers can feel that when you see a video of someone who's really passionate about what they're talking about, whether it be a new song that they just wrote or a new cooking recipe or something that they just built, you can feel passion and it's infectious and it's inspiring and we need more of it. So I think instead of thinking about what other people want or what they would see or what would get a lot of views, think about what lights your soul on fire and lead with that.
Speaking of making content that lights your soul on fire, what is your creative process like? Can you walk us through it?
For my original songs, they happen pretty spontaneously. It's not often that I sit down and think, okay, I need to write a song, I need to write a song, I need to write a song, and I'm like bashing my head into the wall. I think a lot in rhyme, which maybe sounds a little funny, but it's just very satisfying in my brain. And even as I'm just walking around every day, I'll sort of just make up little tunes in my head. And sometimes a rhyme that I've just come up with, or I don't know, a piece of a lyric will really stick and I'll just love it. And so I'll lead with that and I become really passionate about it. Or sometimes I'm just sitting at the piano after I've been playing something and I decide to improvise and I find something that sounds really cool and I just lead with that. And then I put lyrics to it afterwards. But like I said, it usually comes from a place of spontaneity and not so much like, I need to write a song. I need to write a song. What I will say is that for my songwriting challenges that I do, it is a different process because I am sitting down and I'm making time to say, okay, what's the theme of this one going to be? And I'm writing out instrumentations for it and I'm coming up with half of the lyrics. They need to be open-ended just enough that there can be a million and two different stories that happen with it while it still stays on a very clear train where, someone on the other end doesn't get completely overwhelmed by me doing all these strange things. So the process for that's a little different, but it's still so exciting because I am always so excited to see what other people create and what they come up with. So even though that is a little bit different of a process, the passion is still there. So it makes it very, very exciting.
So on social media, particularly TikTok, a lot of the times your success as a content creator can be determined by certain trends that are going on and what is popular. So how do you maintain authenticity and originality in an industry that's constantly evolving and so focused on what is trendy?
I think I've maybe done a trend. I have not done many trends on my channel, which is surprising to think about. I guess that I just did a trend because the hypothetical groundhog musical is happening. And so I got very excited about that. So I added on my 2 cents about what I feel like, a character might sing as a part of this hypothetical world. But I guess when I think of trends, I think of audios and like lip syncing or maybe like doing a little dance or I don't know. I guess those things are fine and I love seeing them, but I don't know if I'm ever as passionate about those as I am creating my own things. I think if I find something that I'm really passionate about, I might. Like sometimes there might be an audio that makes me laugh because I think about how relevant it is in my life. So I decide to record the audio and put like POV, you're a voice student or something like that. But I've never felt pressured to scroll and scroll to find out like, okay, what's the new thing? What's everyone doing? So I could hop on that. Which I don't know, that might be a bad business tactic. It might be a good business tactic. All I know is that me as a content creator, I have my things and I really like creating original content, I suppose. And if something does spark my interest, I'll do it. But I don't feel pressure there.
Can you discuss any collaborations you've been involved in and how they've impacted your creative process?
I've had the opportunity to collaborate with lots of cool people as being a content creator. Most of it happens without even my knowledge until I see a video pop up and Lil Nas X has duetted my video. And it's amazing to be able to collaborate in an environment where I'm never even sitting down with a person. But one really cool collaboration where I did get to sit down with a person was with Dan Povenmire, who co-wrote Phineas and Ferb and all the songs and is now working on a new TV show, Hamster and Gretel. And his writing partner was not able to be present with him to write all of the songs because he's busy with another project. So he decided to contact a lot of the young songwriters he found on TikTok who he really loved their work and give them the opportunity of being able to co-wrote some songs with him for the show. And this process has been very interesting both times it happened when I wrote songs with Dan, because I found out I was writing a song with him the same day that I wrote the song and it was completely over. So it was a very short turnaround where in the morning I get an email, "Hi Alexa, you want to write a song with me for my show?" And then I write back, "Oh my gosh, of course, anytime." And he says, "How does noon sound?" And I say, "Great." And then by 2 o'clock, I've written a song with Dan Povenmire for Disney, which is crazy and amazing. One of the most crazy realizations I've had due to that experience was the fact that as someone who is writing songs, I also feel so responsible to have to know how to play all the instruments for them and to be able to record it really well and mix it really well and produce it really well. And I'm a songwriter, yet I felt like I had to do all these other roles as well. And in working with Dan, we wrote some simple chords. He recorded it on Garage Center, not even like Logic, just like Bass 101, like easy as you can get, just like his voice and him strumming these chords on a guitar. And then we were done and he sent that to someone else whose job it was to fill in all the instruments and to make it sound really cool. And I didn't realize that, like, oh yeah, creative processes isn't just one person. I mean, in my experience, it's been me doing everything. Yet, like, oh my God, I could just have a job where I just get to like play a few chords on piano. I don't have to learn how to orchestrate something for an entire symphony if I want that sound. Like, there are people that do this, and that is, you know, their step in the collaborative process and in what it means to be a collaborator. I didn't realize in my brain he's writing the songs for this, so I guess we're gonna like compose something that then sounds like something that would go live on Phineas and Ferb, but that wasn't the case. It was just him playing guitar and recording his voice, and then he sent it to someone who then sent back a recording where it sounded like an actual Phineas and Ferb song. It was insane. It was so cool. So that's when I realized that I don't need to know how to play every instrument and I don't need to know how to mix and master. Luckily for me, my brother is very gifted at playing like every instrument on the planet and mixing and mastering songs to sound like $1,000,000. So I've learned to not be a control freak about every step of the process when it comes to my work that's very near and dear to me, but to reach out and collaborate and know that there are other people who would be excited to collaborate, and to not have to do everything myself, but to accept other people's strengths and realize that they could also be excited to be a part of the process and help out.
That's incredible. That's an incredible opportunity. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It was insane. It had always been a dream of mine to write for Disney. And like I said, in less than like 4 hours, I realized it was happening and had accomplished it. So it was a little bit like a whiplash coming off of that, but still just as cool and amazing and special. And I just feel really, really grateful.
Awesome. And do you have any recommendations if people are trying to make connections like that and, you know, network and get opportunities like that? Is there any particular strategies you use?
Share your work and don't be a perfectionist about it. And just keep doing those two things. I mean, the person who just wrote, I believe his name is Oliver, but I feel so bad if it is not Oliver. I am pretty sure his name is Oliver, who wrote the concept idea for this groundhog musical. He decided to write a song every day and just post it every single day. He wrote a song and he posted it, and then bam, one blew up. And now everyone, you know, whether you're a small content creator or a big content creator, is totally on board and making content around it and building up this world. So I think it's just a matter of, you know, expect 100 no's before a yes, and just keep sharing and don't let your perfectionist brain keep you from sharing your work and posting it? Because if the passion is there, think about singers that exist. Like there are tons of singers out there that don't have a prima donna voice, but why do we love them anyway? Because it becomes more than just that. We can feel their through their breath, we get their life force and their soul, and we can understand their passion and their pain, and we can live with them for a second. So just know that if the passion is there, there'll always be haters, but you'll also just find an amazing audience. And if you keep throwing stuff at the wall, one of them's going to eventually stick. So it just becomes a game of time and how
Yeah.
patient you are.
So is your goal to continue to grow your platform and work independently forever, or do you see kind of what you're doing now as a way to kind of slingshot yourself into a different career?
That's a great question. It's a unique place I'm in right now because I can see my career going in so many different places. But no matter what I do, I know that I always want to be performing in some capacity. It could be on a stage or in a film or in a podcast or something. And I know that I always want to be writing. So I know that wherever my career goes, those two things should always be present if I'm going to feel really, really passionate and happy about where I'm at. I have original music that I am looking to release that I'm really excited about, and albums. Maybe I'll tour. Maybe I'll become like a Sarah Bareilles where I'm writing musicals, but I also have a bunch of pop music, or I don't want to say pop, but like popular music that I'm releasing. And I also have an auditory musical that I'm releasing where it's this crazy epic story. And I would love to maybe stage something like that one day. I would love to be in the stage version of that one day. I would love to be able to, oh my gosh, well, I just love cartoons so much that I've always wanted to voice act. I've always wanted to be in one of those shows where there are little songs in every show also, and it's some beautiful epic tale. The auditory musical I'm writing right now, I feel like could be one of those. It's just I don't have an animator right now. So it's kind of like we're just creating it, but you only get the auditory stuff right now. So just lie back and close your eyes and listen to this epic fantasy psychological thriller musical take place that I'm really excited about. And through that, I think I will hopefully continue to be approached about opportunities, about maybe getting to write music for a book that is already, wanting to become a musical. Or, I mean, look at Barlow and Bear. Abigail Barlow was another creator who was just bam, 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 posting her songs every day on TikTok and became so popular through that. She now is actually hired by Disney and wrote all the music for Moana 2. So sky's pretty much the limit. I am hoping that I can use my social platforms as a vessel in order to write and create and share the music that I'm really looking to. My goal isn't to have my social platforms be super huge. I just want to share my work with enough people that are hopefully as passionate about it as I am in order to get it live on a screen or be able to sponsor and produce other works that I'm very passionate about as well.
Speaking of your career, are you full-time in content creation, or do you have a second job to kind of support yourself right now?
I am also a voice teacher to some of my mother's students. My mom's a piano teacher, and she's also the drama teacher at a joint elementary middle school. So she is putting on Beauty and the Beast right now, and she has all these really cute kids, and a lot of them she teaches piano to, and they're looking to have voice lessons. So then she directs them towards me. I also perform at a lot of assisted living facilities. I actually have a gig on Valentine's Day. I'm going to go and sing a lot of cute oldies Valentine's Day songs for them. And I've always performed at assisted living facilities since the time I was super, super little with my family. We were a little family band. And since my dad was a chiropractor and he knew everyone at all the assisted living facilities, and my mom is an incredible singer and piano player. And it's something that she's been doing for so long that she taught us all the songs that they know and love. And we would go and we'd perform. And a lot of these places have seen me grow up, and I know the people there. And so it's always very exciting to be able to go and perform for them. So that's pretty much what I'm doing right now, besides content creation, which is helping me earn an extra buck or two until I can really, start getting streams on things. But until I release some of my projects, that is not going to happen. So I'm finishing up that, and then hopefully I'll, have my collection of people ready to stream everything when it's all done and finished.
Do you think there's is there a benchmark point for you when you're like, okay, when I get here, I can go full-time content creation. I won't need a job. Is there any kind of benchmark you're looking for?
That's a good idea. I mean, I think no matter how big I get, I'm always going to want to perform at the assisted living facilities. As wonderful it is as a job, it's also just something that means so much to me that I don't think I could ever give that up. Teaching voice, I mean, I guess eventually if, that relies on being available at the same time every week, but I don't know if I'm off on a movie set or, doing some other crazy thing. If I'm off in New York every day because I got a show on Broadway, I don't really know how much I'm going to be teaching voice. So, I mean, I guess I'll have to deal with that when I do reach that point. I don't know. I don't know. I'm hoping that I can just continue to save enough money. And, if I do get a big hire or a big gig, that I could put enough of it away where I could just go out and enjoy things. And even if I'm not working for a while, if I want to take a month's vacation somewhere crazy, that I could maybe do that. Yeah, everything's kind of a work in progress. I'll know as I go sort of thing here.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, going back in time, think about when you were just getting started. So you can speak on the next question. What is the biggest piece of advice you would have for somebody looking to get into content creation?
Do what you're passionate about. I mean, that's what I was doing. During quarantine, like I said, is when I was posting a lot and my content really grew. And it was interesting because during that time was also when a lot of Broadway performers were out of work. So the way that they were really trying to make income was teaching private lessons to people. And I found a really unique opportunity there to create Sing for Alexis Saturday, which was a free Zoom musical theater masterclass that anyone could join. And basically, I had a lot of followers on TikTok during that time. And yet, a lot of Broadway performers that I loved and looked up to were also on TikTok and sort of trying to make content and advertising themselves, but they just didn't really have the audience. So I would reach out to them and ask if they would be willing to come on my Zoom masterclass and, teach some kids. And then maybe through that, they could also advertise themselves. And then maybe the kids would go on to schedule private lessons with them. And I did that. I had over 20 Sing for Alexis Saturdays. Dan Povermeyer was on it. Mariah Rose Faith was on it. And Annalie Wright was on it. And oh my gosh, all these amazing, amazing performers and other content creators who were big on TikTok and looking to teach. I was able to find a need in the air, a need of people out there to be able to learn and perform, and also people out there who were looking for jobs and wanted to make connections with that younger audience. And through that, I was not only able to give people such incredible experiences, but I was also able to make connections where I now have the phone numbers of all these people that were on Broadway and now are on Broadway. It was an amazing opportunity to be able to make those connections and have it be like a win, 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 win. So as far as business went, besides just being really passionate, I also knew that if I wanted to be in the industry, I wanted to reach out to these people and I wanted to be able to connect audiences. It would be, hopefully there's not another pandemic where someone would be applying these things necessarily, but I hope at least my example could get someone thinking about ways in which they could fill their phone with people that could actually really help them with connections and build positive repertoire with others, and also just be able to provide unique experiences for their audience and feel more connected to them. I mean, going live on TikTok is one thing, but it's different to be on a Zoom with people and get to see their faces and hear them ask questions and really build a community. So be passionate and don't just think about your audience as numbers, but know that they're real people and what are ways in which you could interact with them and build a community and connect others in the community together.
were there and are there any ways that you utilize then or you utilize now that you strategies you use to grow your channel?
Being in connection with other content creators for songwriting as well has led to a lot of connections in terms of being able to perform places. I got to perform at 54 Below. I made my debut because I connected with a lot of other TikTok songwriters and they decided they wanted to put on a show of all of our work and they invited me. Or for Broadway Con, the past 2 years I've gone because I've been invited to sit on panels from friends of mine from online who wanted to put together a little group of TikTok musical theater people, either doing impersonations or talking about their writing process and their work. So I've gotten a lot of opportunities from other people out there, which has been fantastic, knowing that you don't have to do it alone, but you can, and it's not a competition, but you can work together with your community to build each other up. And you offer someone an opportunity one day, and then the next day they'll offer you one. And just know that it's that constant give and take, and you don't have to be scared of other people in your field or think of it as a competition, but be so excited that there are others like you and that you can work together, because working with a group is always so much more fun than working by yourself, which I've also learned that I don't need to do everything myself, that it's very enjoyable to work with other people too. So building those connections and knowing that that is a huge, huge strength to have.
What do you hope listeners or viewers take away from your music/content?
I hope that it sparks their creativity. It makes me so sad how, as an artist, I am around artists a lot of the time, but especially being home now from college, how many people I'm hanging out with that just think like, oh, I could never do that, or I'd never write a song like you do, or any of these things. And I feel like when people watch my videos, and I can only go from what the comment section says, unfortunately, but a lot of people speak to feeling very inspired. With my songwriting challenges, being able to get a beautiful, easy layout where it doesn't feel scary to try to go off on a limb and write their own things and create their own little ditties. I've had friends of mine that don't consider themselves very creative, but saw a video of mine and thought it might be fun to do, because that's what it's supposed to be. I feel like there's all this pressure around creativity that it has to be good. When did this ever become a thing where to create something, there's a criteria that it has to be good? Create for the sake of it being fun. And I think that when people see my videos, they don't view it as this pressure to create, but they see it as an invitation to do something really fun. And through that, they're now doing things that they never thought they would do. They're actually writing lyrics. And I have a lot of songwriters that actually quote me as being their first ever time writing songs and having it completely open up this new world and this new passion that they never thought they'd have. Because it can be very scary sitting by yourself and being like, oh my God, I'm going to write a song. I don't know. But to have someone kind of like hold out a very friendly hand and be like, yo, you want to just do something crazy for a second, makes it really fun and enjoyable. And people don't even realize very small accounts have just duetted my things for fun. And then it's completely blown up. And now they have following and they're writing their own things that they're really passionate about. So I don't even really know what the original question was. But if it was something along the lines of like what I hope people get out of it, it is just creation for the sake of it being fun. I hope they see my work and they see how much fun I have creating it and how passionate I am about sharing it, and that it just inspires them also to create more work and to share their work.
Yeah, that was the exact question, and that was a perfect answer. Incredible. And before we run out of time, I want to give you the opportunity. Where can people find you, your work, and what do you have upcoming that people can keep an eye out for?
You can find me at Alexa Chalnick, Chalnick, on every platform. And I have an original album of work coming out. I also have an auditory musical called Lucid that will hopefully be released sometime this summer. It is a fantasy psychological thriller, completely through audio, where we ask you to lay in a dark room and close your eyes and just listen to this crazy story. And your guess is as good as mine. I would love to see the Lorax musical happen. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I would love to see it happen at some point. And oh gosh, probably a concept album of a bunch of random songs that I've written. I have over 60 songs right now that are just laying around that I'm trying to organize and figure out what to do with and when to release. So and just an album, because I actually have that one planned out, Lucid, and then any other crazy things that happen. I will also be posting TikToks, hopefully then also to my Instagram and YouTube. I'll be posting videos weekly, which will be very exciting, multiple times a week. Yeah, I'm at the very beginning of the journey, so I don't really know what it's going to look like, but something like that. Those are the main things I'd like to hit on this crazy roadmap that I'm having in my head right now.
Yeah, awesome. Well, folks at home, make sure to keep an eye out. Alexa, thank you so much for joining us at the Career Corner.
Thank you for having me.
You do not have to wait for our next episode to get career guidance. You can visit office hours every weekday from 11 to 2 in Muller Faculty Center 101. I'm Lukas Kauffman, and this has been Career Corner.